Hey y'all, it's Mamaw, and the TikTok gods not only let me out of jail, they said, shit girl, you can go live, so here I am going live. I wanted to talk to you, and I've held off for a while, about FEMA, what's going on in Texas, and my own personal experience. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail because this isn't a pity party for Mamaw. But what it is about the importance of FEMA, the importance of early warning, and none of that has occurred in Texas. In 1997, in the middle of the night, about 3 o'clock in the morning, my husband and I had to tear down wood fence. We were chest deep in water to get our show horses out. All the horses survived. I'm not going to go into detail. It was probably one of the worst experiences of my life. But survived. I'm not going to go into detail. It was probably one of the worst experiences of my life. But nobody or no critters died. But the experience left us after our entire farm was underwater. Only the roofs were showing. We were trapped in our house until daylight in 3 feet of water. But I found out what we were trapped in our house until daylight in 3 feet of water. But I found out what the Barbies, which was Mac and Joyce Barbie, did wonderful things for us, brought us stuff, helped us build things back. And we also found out that in town, we had a realtor friend. Her name is Nia Henry. She did amazing things, getting things moving, getting people resources they needed just because she's a good person to organize. And a pediatrician, Jill Neff, who brought a bunch of young men who were on service with their church out to help clean up the barns, clean out the grain bins. I mean, they were amazing to help us. What we didn't get was our dumpster that everybody else in town got, because we lived outside of the city. And we got zero help from the Red Cross, and I mean zero. That'll be another story in a minute. But what I did get was FEMA. Within 2 days of the water receding, so it's about 5 days out from the flood, this woman came from FEMA, identified herself, walked through the house, saw what kind of shape it was in, and then told us what the process would be. That we would have to take out a small business loan. We didn't qualify for the grant system, that they had certain requirements to build back. Very detailed, very helpful. She was wonderful. She returned 2 hours later, and she returned with a box of food for us and food for our animals, which was amazing. I'll never forget her. FEMA, I can't say enough good about. Did everything for us. Red Cross 0, FEMA 10. So we went through all that process. In a nutshell, though, we survived because, A, we had warning. We knew the night before we went to bed that they were expecting these floods. And so we brought all of our animals up to an area that had never flooded before. The reason everything flooded that night on up and including the house was because they'd clear cut the hills the year before. And so all of the bramble that was left over and the logging material dammed up the creek. And all of that backwater hit us, and that's what flooded us out. So when we were getting prepared, we knew it was coming. We went to bed that night, neighbors yelling, get up, the water's up to your house. So we had warning, and we were able to go chest deep in water, tear down boards, get the horses out. This is at 3 in the morning, no electricity. It is pitch black, and that water is a torrent. And like I said, I'm not going into a lot of detail, but we had warning, and we had FEMA. The people in Texas had neither. Now, they had the money in order to have a warning system. that was misspent because Joe Biden gave it to him. So therefore, we're not going to spend it on what it was given to us for an emergency system. But number two, what has happened to FEMA? Now, we were flooded in 1997, and FEMA was right on it, and it was a great experience. But now we have Kristi Noem, who getting hair extensions was more important than having a go bag and being on the go when this hit. Kristi Noem thought it was more important to divert funds to build alligator Auschwitz instead of having the money back up, because our weather's getting more severe and more often over more states than ever before. But to her, it was more important to have all these photo ops with the taco. Got to keep the taco happy. And so those funds were diverted out of FEMA. In addition, any contractors that have to work with FEMA have to have her personal signature. So that night, when people started calling in at how fast the water was coming up, so that would have been downstream, down the river as it's flowing that system alone of just calling and warning on would have helped. But she didn't pay those contractors, so after taking all those calls, they're not allowed to be at the call center anymore. She also, once those calls came in, people did not feel that they had the right or authority at their sheriff's offices to yell for evacuations. They had to wait and get permission from a supervisor. So Texas, you got a lot of issues going on that we personally did not at that time experience here. Our emergency management team in little old Jackson County, Ohio, fully could activate on their own. The sheriff's department was on it on their own. So I cannot imagine. I cannot imagine. And I know what they've got going up ahead of them, because it took us 2 years to build the farm back, and we eventually sold it and moved on. You never get another good night's sleep, I'm here to tell you. So while I have great compassion for those people in Texas, and in fact my husband and I have helped send what we could, I fully put the blame at the feet of their emergency management team and FEMA's response, because those are preventable. We have so many things in the past. You go back and study past events so that you find out what went right, what went wrong, and what you need to do to be prepared in the future. And none of that transpired. So I hope Kristi doesn't sleep well at night. I really do, because I put this squarely at her feet. It took one disaster for George W. to get rid of the guy that he'd put at FEMA, not thinking it was any big deal. Remember the guy that was over the Arabian Horse Association? And then Katrina hit. Yeah, he was gone like yesterday's news. So that's my 2 cents worth. I'm really glad I get to go live. If you all would like to answer a live session sometime, let me know. Just drop a comment. Let people know. And you really are on Mamaw's porch. Stay salty and use your outside voice. Thank you.